My sister burned through her inheritance on luxury handbags and tropical vacations, and eventually tried to get her hands on mine, until a single document uncovered all the secrets she thought she had buried. Maddie always had to be in charge when we were kids. She's 27 now, married to this guy, Jason, who's basically the male version of her, just as arrogant and entitled. Meanwhile, I'm 17, wrapping up high school, and living with Aunt Susan after our dad passed. Maddie? She's too busy throwing fits to handle actual responsibilities? And her and Aunt Susan? They've hated each other for as long as I can remember. To put it simply, Maddie's a total control freak. She's obsessed with calling the shots. When we were younger, she always had to take over. Game night? Maddie picked the game. Movie night? It had to be her favorite film. And if things didn't go her way, get ready for a full-blown passive-aggressive meltdown. Most of the time, people just gave in. But not Aunt Susan. She never entertained Maddie's antics, and Maddie couldn't stand it. One moment that still sticks in my head happened when we were little. Dad was really sick, and Aunt Susan came by to help. Maddie was supposed to be doing the dishes, but instead she was glued to her phone texting Jason, pretending not to hear anyone. Aunt Susan, being her no-nonsense self, told Maddie to get up and finish her chores. Maddie rolled her eyes and muttered, "You're not my mom." Aunt Susan didn't miss a beat. "No," she said, "but I'm not your maid either. Now get to it." Maddie did the dishes, but she slammed every plate and cup like she wanted to break them. Later, she vented to me about how Aunt Susan was always bossing her around. I stayed quiet, but honestly, Aunt Susan was spot on. As we got older, Maddie's bitterness toward Aunt Susan only grew stronger. Aunt Susan kept stepping up to help Dad with things Maddie should have been doing. She drove him to appointments, paid bills, kept the kitchen stocked. Maddie saw it as meddling, said Aunt Susan was trying to take over. I saw it for what it was, being responsible. Maddie didn't want to see it that way because it made her look bad. When Jason entered the scene, Maddie had already mastered her role as the so-called golden child. Jason treated her like she walked on water, and Maddie loved having someone who never questioned her. Aunt Susan, of course, didn't like Jason from the jump. She said he came off fake and arrogant, and she wasn't wrong. But Maddie couldn't care less. She acted like Jason was the greatest thing that had ever happened to her and ignored anyone who thought otherwise. Jason wasn't just cocky. He was downright rude. Every time he visited, he'd make some sarcastic comment. If Dad cooked, Jason would mutter, "Well, this is something." If I mentioned wanting to go to med school, he'd chuckle and say, "Better have a backup plan, kid. Not everyone's cut out for that." Maddie never defended me. She just giggled like Jason's jabs were funny. Aunt Susan, though, she didn't let it slide. She'd either shut him down with a sharp comment or flat out ignore him, which drove him up the wall. Maddie and Aunt Susan's relationship got worse after she married Jason. She barely came to family get-togethers, and when she did, it usually ended in drama and her storming out after an argument. One Thanksgiving, Maddie went off about how certain people didn't respect her marriage. Everyone knew she meant Aunt Susan. Aunt Susan just raised an eyebrow and said, "Respect is earned, not demanded." Maddie stormed out, dragging Jason with her, and we didn't hear from them for months. Even with all that, Aunt Susan stayed by our side. She wasn't just an aunt to me, she was like another parent, especially since Maddie had mentally checked out. While Maddie played house with Jason, Aunt Susan was helping me with my schoolwork, driving me to class, and teaching me how to cook something besides microwave mac and cheese. She never once made me feel like a burden, even when I was barely holding it together with everything going on with Dad. The truth? Maddie's anger at Aunt Susan was never really about Aunt Susan. It was about Maddie. Aunt Susan saw right through her, how selfish, manipulative, and fake she really was. And that scared Maddie. Because Aunt Susan couldn't be guilted, flattered, or manipulated like everyone else. She couldn't be tricked into playing along, so Maddie labeled her the enemy instead. Looking back, it's wild how long Maddie held that grudge. Even after she got married and moved out, she kept finding ways to complain about Aunt Susan. She'd say things like, "Why is she always involved?" Or, "She treats me like I'm still a child." Meanwhile, Aunt Susan was holding the family together, making sure Dad was taken care of, picking up the slack Maddie left behind. But I had no idea how ugly things would get after Dad passed. That's when Maddie's bitterness turned into something more, a kind of vengeful obsession. By the time Dad's health really declined, I could feel things getting serious. He'd had heart issues for as long as I could remember. But during my junior year, it became impossible for him to hide it anymore. He'd get winded just walking from the kitchen to the couch, and some mornings, he couldn't even get out of bed. Watching him struggle was heartbreaking. This was the man who'd work overtime and still flip pancakes for me on weekends. That's when Aunt Susan stepped in even more. She'd always been around, but now she was basically a full-time caretaker. She came by nearly every day, took him to appointments, made sure he ate, and helped out with everything. Maddie? Nowhere to be seen. I tried to keep her in the loop. I texted, called, left voice messages. "Dad's not doing well," I'd say. "You should visit." But she always had a reason not to. "Jason's working late," or "I'm buried at work." The one that really got me? "Let me know when it's serious." Like, what did she think was going on? Dad was seriously ill, and she couldn't even bother to check in for an hour. The night Dad collapsed is burned into my memory. I was in the kitchen finishing homework when I heard a loud crash. I rushed into the living room and found him on the ground, clutching his chest, sweating and pale. I panicked, called 911, then immediately called Aunt Susan. She showed up before the ambulance, worried but calm enough to hold everything together. "Maddie?" Didn't pick up. I left a message. "Dad's being rushed to the hospital. You need to come now." That hospital visit was the beginning of the end. Dad stayed there for weeks, and every day I hoped Maddie would show up. She didn't. Aunt Susan and I sat by his side every single day, holding his hand, helping him stay comfortable. The nurses started recognizing us. "Maddie?" She finally called in the second week, just to complain about Jason being sick. Speaking of Jason, he has some chronic illness. I don't know the details, he's never been close to me, but Maddie loved to use it as her all-purpose excuse. "You don't know how hard this is for us," she'd say. "Jason's not doing well." And sure, being sick is awful, but she used it like a free pass to ignore everything happening with Dad. The day Dad passed, only Aunt Susan and I were there. He drifted in and out all day, barely able to speak. I held his hand while Aunt Susan brushed back his hair, whispering it was okay to let go. When he finally stopped breathing, it felt like the world had gone still. I cried harder than I ever had in my life. Aunt Susan stayed with me the entire time, even while I completely broke down. Maddie didn't even find out until hours later when I finally got her on the phone. She acted like I hadn't told her how serious it was. "Why didn't you say it was this bad?" she asked, pretending to care. I wanted to scream. I had told her. She just didn't care enough to pay attention. Maddie didn't come to the funeral either. She said Jason wasn't feeling well, so she couldn't leave him alone. Aunt Susan and I handled it all, planning the service, going through Dad's things, paying bills. Maddie didn't do a single thing. She mailed in a bouquet and a generic condolence card, and that was it. I was furious, but I didn't have the strength to fight. I was grieving. A few days after the funeral, Aunt Susan sat me down. "Your dad left a will," she said. "We'll need to review it with the attorney." She reached over and added, "No matter what's in it, I'm here for you." I nodded. I didn't really get what she meant. I wasn't thinking about a will. I was just trying to make it through the day without falling apart. When Maddie finally showed up, she acted like she hadn't just missed Dad's last moments or his funeral. She strolled into the house like it was just another Tuesday, pretending nothing had happened. "So, what's the situation with the will?" she asked, like she was asking about dinner plans. Aunt Susan shot her a sharp look. "We'll find out when we talk to the lawyer," she said coldly. It was obvious from the beginning. Maddie didn't care about Dad's memory or his belongings. She only cared about the money. She didn't ask about any of Dad's keepsakes, pictures, or anything personal, just how much she was getting. It made me sick. Aunt Susan, on the other hand, was focused on doing right by Dad's wishes. She knew how much Dad wanted me to go to med school, and she wasn't about to let Maddie screw that up. So when we finally sat down with the lawyer, I braced myself. Maddie had already made it clear she didn't think Aunt Susan should be involved, but Dad's will had other plans. According to it, Maddie and I were each getting half the inheritance, but because I was still underage, Aunt Susan had been named as the custodian for my share. Maddie's expression when she heard that? Pure fury. She didn't explode, not right away, but I could see the fire behind her eyes. Later, she pulled me aside. "You know Aunt Susan doesn't really get us, right?" she said, in that sugary sweet fake voice. "She's always been kinda cold, but we're family, and we should stick together. If you ever need help with the money, just come to me." I didn't respond. I knew exactly what she was doing. She couldn't stand not being in control, so now she was trying to get me on her side. But Aunt Susan wasn't fooled. That evening, she sat me down and said, "Maddie's going to try to play you. Don't let her. That money is for your future. Your dad trusted me to make sure it's used the right way. I won't let her take that from you." I didn't completely understand what she meant then, but I'm so grateful I trusted her. Because what Maddie did next turned into an absolute nightmare. When the court date arrived, it felt like the tension before a storm. Maddie's legal petition claimed that Aunt Susan was manipulating me, mismanaging the funds, and trying to control my life for her own reasons. It was complete garbage, but Maddie was betting on her performance to convince the judge. If she won, the court would make her the custodian of my inheritance until I turned 18, meaning she'd control every cent. She didn't want a portion of the money. She wanted it all. Aunt Susan wasn't shaken. She'd spent years dealing with Maddie's mind games and knew how to stay calm. We teamed up with Mr. Carter, our attorney, and gathered every bit of evidence to expose the truth behind Maddie's motives. Maddie walked into the courtroom with her lawyer and Jason trailing behind. He looked uncomfortable, slouched in a chair like he'd rather be anywhere else. Maddie, though, was in full performance mode. She entered like the star of her own personal drama, oozing fake empathy and confidence. Her lawyer began the case by painting her as a loving, concerned sister. "My client's only goal is to protect her brother," he said. "She's deeply worried about the undue influence Ms. Susan has over him and believes the inheritance is not being handled in his best interest." I was fuming. Maddie hadn't cared about me or Dad for years, and now she was pretending to be my protector? Aunt Susan gave me a quick glance, reminding me to stay composed. Then it was our turn. Mr. Carter tore Maddie's claims apart piece by piece. First, he presented the financial records that showed Aunt Susan hadn't touched a single dollar from my inheritance. "The account is held securely as outlined in the will," Mr. Carter explained. "There is no evidence of misuse or manipulation." But what truly flipped the case? Maddie's own financial documents. Mr. Carter had filed for them during the legal process, and they revealed everything. Maddie had drained her half of the inheritance in just 6 months. She'd bought a luxury SUV, high-end appliances, gone on lavish vacations, and wasted money on dozens of unnecessary things. It clearly showed that she was irresponsible and desperate. Finally, Mr. Carter shared the text messages and voicemails Maddie had sent me. Her voice filled the courtroom, alternating between guilt-tripping, pleading, and flat-out threatening. "You're just sitting on all this money while Jason's dying," one voicemail said. "If you don't help us, you'll regret it." The judge's expression grew colder with every new piece of evidence. Maddie's confidence started to crack. She fidgeted, avoiding eye contact, clearly realizing things weren't going her way. When it was my turn to speak, I stood up, heart racing, but determined. "Your Honor," I began, "this isn't about protecting me. It's about my sister refusing to own up to her choices. She got the same inheritance I did, half of everything our father left us. She blew through her part on things she didn't need. Now she's trying to take mine to clean up her mistakes." I glanced at Maddie, who stared back at me, shocked and furious. But I'm not giving it up. Over the past few weeks, she's sent me dozens of messages, tried to guilt me, turned other family members against us, all just to get control. Aunt Susan, on the other hand, has done nothing but support me. She's helped me stay focused on med school, and she's honored every one of my father's wishes. Without her, I don't know where I'd be. I sat down, hands trembling slightly, but I knew I'd said exactly what needed to be said. Maddie got her chance to respond, and true to form, she turned on the tears. "I've always loved my brother," she said, voice shaking. "I just want to help him. Jason's surgery is critical, and I thought we could come together as a family. I didn't think we'd be met with hostility." It was so forced, it made my skin crawl. After everything she'd done, she still wanted to be the victim. But the truth was undeniable, and the judge wasn't buying her act. After reviewing all the evidence, the judge delivered their ruling. The court finds that Ms. Susan has fulfilled her role as custodian appropriately. There is no indication of mismanagement or undue influence. Conversely, the petitioner's financial history and communications demonstrate motivations that are self-serving rather than protective. The petition is denied. Maddie's face flushed crimson. Her jaw clenched so tight it looked like she might snap a tooth. But the judge wasn't finished. This court will also investigate whether the petitioner's actions and submitted evidence constitute fraud or perjury. If so, further consequences will be issued. And they were. Maddie was found guilty of filing false claims and attempting to defraud the court. She was hit with a fine for wasting legal resources, ordered to attend therapy to address her manipulative behavior, and given a restraining order forbidding her from contacting Aunt Susan or me. Relief flooded through me. Aunt Susan gently squeezed my shoulder, and for the first time in weeks, I could breathe again. As we stepped out of the courtroom, Maddie tried one last time to follow us, but Aunt Susan stopped her cold with a single sentence. "We're done here." Maddie froze, fists clenched, but said nothing. She knew she'd lost. Jason stayed quiet, likely realizing this was a battle he couldn't smooth talk his way out of. They left together, Maddie muttering bitterly under her breath, but I didn't care anymore. The fight was over, and we had won. Walking away from that courthouse, I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Freedom. Aunt Susan and I had stood firm. Maddie had shown the world who she really was, and in the end, her plan backfired completely. She thought she could control everything. But now she couldn't touch me, and she couldn't touch my future. If you enjoyed this story and felt the emotions behind it, don't forget to give it a like, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel for more real-life experiences and heartfelt stories. Your support means the world, and it helps us bring more content like this to you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.